Thanks. My name is Becky Long. I'm with Colorado Environmental Coalition. And we are the state's largest state-based citizens group dedicated to protecting Colorado's air, land, and water. We work on a variety of issues based out of Denver with our home office, and we have 2 field offices in Grand Junction and Craig, holding down the western frontier. And when I was thinking about what we can do to protect oceans from Colorado, really, the number one thing I can think of is don't be cheap. Now that might sound sort of out of place, but it could apply to many things. I've spent about a year and a half recently working on nitrogen and phosphorus pollution here in Colorado. I personally have banned the term nutrients in my dialect because that sounds like a Flintstone vitamin. It doesn't sound so bad, right? Nutrients seem like a good thing. So nitrogen and phosphorus are real pollutants, and in addition to agricultural, which is a big contributor, does anyone know the other major contributor of these pollutants?
Residential.
You all know them intimately because you're them. It's you, and it's me, and it's all of our friends. People and population contribute nitrogen and phosphorus every day, and it's got an ick factor. Because of that, our cities and communities are facing major water and wastewater treatment system upgrades. Not just because of nitrogen and phosphorus, but because of a lot of things. And nitrogen and phosphorus can be a little expensive to treat. So many communities are going to the state legislature saying, there's no way our citizens want to pay for clean water. They don't want to do that. And we shouldn't pass this new regulation, or we shouldn't take care of this issue and prevent these pollutants from entering our waterways and ultimately ending up in our oceans. And I know that's not the case, and I think you all know that's not the case, but your elected officials at the local and state level really need to hear that. They need to hear that you're not cheap, that you like clean water, and that you're willing to pay a little extra each month for clean water, because isn't it nice that it just magically comes out of your tap every month? There's a lot that goes into that magic, so we need to be able to pony up for it. And realistically, we're talking $2, maybe $5 a month per household to make sure that we can treat our water at our wastewater treatment facilities to a high standard and remove nitrogen and phosphorus before it ends up in our riverways here in Colorado. They cause, P.S., the same issues of major algae growth, which is bad for our recreation economy, bad for a whole heck of a lot of things. And once, if they're not treated and we have to disinfect our wastewater treatment facilities, we have biological nutrient issues and organic matter that is decomposing, that reacts with the chemicals we have to use to treat our facilities and has a carcinogenic byproduct. So that's not great. Like, cancer water doesn't sound fun to anyone. So don't be cheap. That's the take home I would have today.
Hello, my name is Emily Kelliger, and I'm at the University of Colorado at Boulder, and I work with a research institute called CERES. It's the Cooperative Institute for the Research in Environmental Science. And I'm a science educator, so I work with teachers and students to help them figure out solutions, how they can educate themselves and educate others. And I thought a lot about how this movie was presented. And several years ago, when you would have seen a movie urging you to take action, you would have seen a lot of doom and gloom. And so kudos to the director for making a movie about solutions. And I'd like to also say that because I work with the youth, I hear a lot about what they're interested in. And so I just want to encourage you to open up your ears, talk to the next generation, and listen to their concerns, and help them learn how to take action. Take action on little things, work with your community, and be a part of the solution.
Good evening, I'm Adrian Card with Colorado State University Extension here in Boulder County. So I'm with the land-grant university to the north, not CU Boulder. But we collaborate whenever possible. I've worked with people from the Environmental Center at CU. So my role here as Agriculture Extension Agent in the county is agricultural education. And generally my target audience is vegetable producers here in the county, and often those are organic vegetable producers and beginning farmers. So I appreciate the previous comments about trying to find solutions, because I think we tend to want to throw stones at these types of issues, and you saw really interesting collaborations in this film amongst groups that didn't historically work together. And seeing farmers go down to Louisiana was pretty cool. And the farmers here are really trying to explain some of their best practices that they do. And in fact, there's a water tour taking place Saturday. Some of you may be going on it. Really more to explain how the whole plumbing of the county works, all the ditch systems, and the complexity of that and the legal implications of that. But from my perspective, what we could do, and speaking from an agricultural perspective, and we do call them nutrients in agriculture. Long history there of calling them nutrients. So best management practices in agriculture would say that for nitrogen and phosphorus applications, let's match inputs to crop uptake. Don't put on any more than you need to. It's really well stated in this movie where the farmer said, any of you that are small business owners or business owners, period, why would you pay for more inputs than you need? And farmers feel the same way too. They're very, in any business scenario, wanting to make a profit. So cost of inputs are rising and technologies are improving. We're seeing more advances in precision agriculture. And in these cropping systems, some people are not big fans of them, but what is taking place in the field is we're seeing GPS systems put in tractors so that we can map the path of the tractor through the field. Tractor has auto steer. I'm probably running out of time. Yeah. So tractor goes through the field. We're mapping the fields with precision samples, and they have variable rate fertilizer applicators. So the field, part of the field that needs more gets more, and the part of the field that doesn't gets less. So agriculture's getting better at what they're doing. So I ask you to pay attention to that and really look at the facts in it. So.
I'm Janice Lopitz, and I'm representing the Keep It Clean Partnership, which is a partnership in Boulder County and portions of Weld, in the Boulder Creek and the St. Vrain watersheds, that are working to protect urban runoff from pollutants in the communities. The group got together when we were issued a permit from the Colorado Department of Public Health and the Environment for the discharge of the runoff from our impervious areas in the urbanized areas. This isn't unique to Colorado. This is a nationwide permit. The feds and EPA have recognized that when we congregate people in their activities in an urbanized area, we increase the pollutant load to our waterways. So what you can do, the biggest message that we try to get out to the public is those storm drains are connected directly to our creeks and the South Platte and down to the Mississippi. So we are all connected. So you folks probably all know that, but at every cocktail party, every event, every meeting, feel free just to blurt it out. So I think if that message has gotten out to everyone, everything else falls into place. We do spend an awful lot of time talking to residents and business in our own municipal operations, having them understand best management practices, what they can do in their personal lives, fertilizing their lawns, maintaining their car, taking care of their dog's business, as well as their business lives. Who's maintaining their homes, who's maintaining their business places, and what they're doing on those impervious surfaces. The other thing that I was delighted to see in the movie that we need to continue to move with is as we design our communities, thinking about having our waters infiltrate, not just run across an impervious surface very quickly and training pollutants and taking it to our creeks, but really thinking about green roofs on some of our large facilities, as well as bioswales around those facilities to capture the rainwater. We have a booth out front. If any of you are compelled, and if not tonight, check out our website, keepitcleanpartnership.org. We'd love to help you coordinate a stream team, host a speaking event, do some storm drain marking for us to continue the beating of the drum.
Hi, my name is Gary Walkner. I live in Fort Collins. I'm the director of the Save the Colorado River campaign. The Save the Colorado River campaign is primarily a philanthropic campaign. It's ran by New Belgium Brewing Company, Patagonia, and Cliff Bar. We donate money to organizations up and down the Colorado River Basin that are working to protect and restore the Colorado River. A lot of you know this, but the Colorado River, of course, starts just on the other side of the Continental Divide here and flows all the way to the Gulf of California and Mexico. Unfortunately, the Colorado River has been drained dry before it gets to the Gulf of California. The last 100 miles are actually completely bone dry, and there's about 2 million acres there that used to be wetlands that is currently just a flat sea of sand and dirt. And so the United States and Mexico, there's a positive side here, so that's the doom and gloom, here comes the positive side. The United States and Mexico are currently trying to negotiate an agreement to put water back in the Colorado River where it reaches the Gulf of California. The U.S. Department of State and the U.S. Department of Interior are currently negotiating with New Mexico, with the country of New Mexico right now. And I'm very lucky because we're going to have an actual action item that you can take right now to help us out. I have these postcards, and they are out at the table in the auditorium. If you sign a postcard, we will hand deliver these to the Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, her people. We've been working with very closely there in Washington, D.C., and they are negotiating this agreement right now. We've been talking with them extensively on behalf of a whole coalition of environmental organizations up and down the basin to try to get the United States and Mexico to put some water back in the Gulf, or back in the Colorado River so it will reach the sea. And if you sign one of these postcards, I will give you free one of these posters. It's the famous Save the Colorado River poster. The poster was developed by New Belgium Brewing Company when they created a beer called Skinny Dip Beer. And we've been using it to try to get the message out in a provocative and interesting way. So see me out in the auditorium. We'll get you to sign a postcard, give you a poster, and you can make a difference today. Thank you.
I'm president of the Wild Foundation. We're based here in Boulder. And we work both within the United States and mostly globally on issues that connect wild nature and people. And that word connection, it comes up in all of our work because we feel very strongly that the best way to do conservation is through building community around these issues. We have an overarching vision. It's called Nature Needs Half. It's a science-based vision that large natural systems, land and sea, if they're reduced by more or less half, they simply can't produce the goods. If they can't produce the goods producers begin to suffer. So communities need nature to be a certain size and interconnected. And that's the thing that I think bears most importantly on Vicki's question, what can Colorado do? Colorado is in a really unique place, and I want to really support and shout out to what Vicki and her team has done, because they brought this issue that seems so far away right to a very, very unique place in the center of the country, the highest place that also serves both coasts and the South. We are it, ground zero for oceans in the interior of the U.S. And Vicki's brought this vision here, and the Wild Foundation likes to partner with what this coalition is doing because they're trying to build a community at what we call ground zero for oceans. This is where it starts. So cool and interesting connectivity questions. Colorado River, whole system of communities down that river, down the Platte to the Mississippi. Let's build a system of communities. Let's build that communication. Let's light up the dots that go from Colorado, where it starts, building a community of people along natural corridors. Because it's those natural corridors that tie the whole thing together, and that's the wonderful message of this film. Two wonderful messages. I knew nothing about this film until I came here this evening, except, hey, this is a cool film, come and be here. Positive solutions and connectivity. That the greatest myth, and one of the greatest challenges of the environmental movement since I've been involved a long time, is this concept of, oh, we're for oceans. Okay, well, we work on land. Well, that's just, it's such a potentially damaging myth because it's all part of it. So if the Colorado Oceans Coalition can bring that together in a sense of community and connectivity, that's starting here in the middle of the continental United States and spreading out west, east, and south, we can build a sense of community and connectivity for land and water as a sort of a wholeness, then that's, I think, what we can do here in Colorado. Thank you.
On one hand, I don't think every situation is appropriate for a collaborative solution. I think many are, and it is a great tool, and if you can do it in a way that satisfies all needs while still having some ultimate hooks and protections, at the end of the day, that's great. I think often, though, we define collaboration by everyone feeling okay, and I think we ought to be defining collaboration by being enforceable, by being meaningful, and by being beneficial to all parties. If everyone just sort of feels okay about it, or everyone is equally upset by the process, that's not good collaboration in my book. And unfortunately, I feel like we see a lot of those happening today. And so if we can find those ways to have metrics and to have measurements for how it's working, collaboration is an amazing tool, and it can work very well in many situations. And it's my preference, but I don't believe it's right in every situation. And I'll stop it short of saying anything else on that front. But I do think it's great and it's useful. We just need to find those measurements. And collaboration doesn't mean we don't have regulation. Collaboration doesn't mean we don't have some sort of enforcement on the tail end. And in fact, in my experience in sitting on a number of locally based alternatives to other issues, the thing that keeps the wheels on the bus and the bus on the road is the stick more than the carrot in many cases. So we can't totally disband some of those traditional pieces. We just have to think about them in a different format.
I will also say we spoke to a regulation that has hit the streets as of March, Reg 85, which will require us, stormwater world, to understand the nitrogen and phosphorus that is coming off our urbanized areas. The Stormwater Council is a group within Colorado who is going to submit one report, a unified report, cross your fingers, with everybody participating well, that really will help to analyze land use factors and loads so that we can help the state, Colorado Department of Health and the Environment, understand if it really is an urbanized issue here in Colorado and then what we need to do with it. So it's happening. Do I have the answers why it works sometimes and not others? Some of it's personality, some of it's regulation, some of it's cost savings, I guess.
I think what we saw in the county, and I think Lynn was referring to some of our cropland policy process over the last couple of years, and thank you, and what we saw in the film here, and I can tell you, having been a cultural anthropology person in a previous life, that so much of these collaborations have to be culturally sensitive and culturally appropriate. Approaching some of the farmers in this county with a sort of very direct, in-your-face Boulder kind of attitude usually turns them off. So you have to be very finding, and there's a realm of trust that takes a while to develop. And many farmers have felt like they've been in the crosshairs for so long, and most people asking them questions are trying to dig at a scab and find something wrong. So many of them are beautiful land stewards and really try to do a great job. So I think trying to find that middle ground is so important.
The Wild Foundation's been working around 36 years around the globe on with a particular style, and we call it collaboration. What I've learned in that period, and I've been doing it 29 years of those 35, is number one, that collaboration's not an outcome. It's an attitude. It's a heart-centered, smart attitude. It's not gooey, it's smart. But it's not an outcome. You cannot determine outcomes in many cases. And that's one of the things that stands in the way, I think, of the environmental movement, is that I know the best and you'll eventually come to me. That's death in collaboration. And if you're always building some kind of relationship that addresses those issues before they come up, so a person understands that you're not threatening their livelihood or their culture, then they're going to be at the table a little bit more easily and listening a little